Now, under the 15th Amendment, you see three amendments that get passed very quickly here, all within the span of just 4 years. But this now said states could not prevent black men from voting because of their color, race, or previous condition of servitude. So this is saying that you cannot discriminate voting rights because of your race. Notice it says nothing about gender yet, ladies. We're still going to have to wait another 50 years until the 19th Amendment comes around. But it also did not outlaw poll taxes or requiring land ownership to vote. So here you have more Southerners that are trying to get around the right of a black man to vote. And in addition to people trying to get around the amendments that are being passed, you also have the inception of the Ku Klux Klan. Some Southern whites were angered about losing power in the South, and they resorted to violence. They threatened, they intimidated blacks. If that didn't work, they would whip, torture, shoot, or even hang blacks to try to stop them from voting. And as a result, voting by black men definitely it went down. Which begs the question: would you rather be a slave or a free black with a government that will not protect you? And for many black citizens in the South, this was a question that they were faced with. Was it better when there was slavery, or in this free society where you have the threat of being killed just for trying to exercise your right to being a free American? Now we come to the election of 1876. You have Rutherford B. Hayes, a Republican from Ohio. He wanted to continue radical Reconstruction in the South, so those military governments that were, in essence, dictatorships across the South, versus Samuel J. Tilden, who was a Democrat from New York. He wanted to end military rule in the South. It was it was not a very popular election. You can see that this political cartoon towards the right, it says, "Of the two evils, choose the least." So neither one was terribly well liked, but the vote was very close and actually had to be decided by Congress, which was mostly Republican. So therefore, Rutherford B. Hayes ends up being your president starting in 1877. But to make Democrats happy, uh, Hayes agreed to pull the military out of the South and give control back to state governments. Now, what do you think happened there? You had a lot of people that tried to put things back into what they thought was order and the right way of doing things, and things get worse, which leads to something called sharecropping, which has been going on since the Civil War ended, but really starts to gain momentum after radical Reconstruction is over. Sharecropping, it's where you have these farmers, these sharecroppers, where they would work on a farm for a person that owns the farm, but they would receive partial credit for the crop. So rather than just being a slave, you would get some credit, but they had to pay rent. They for the land that they farmed, they had to pay for supplies, and if they were unable to pay for those supplies or that rent, the very generous landowner would roll it over into the next year. Say, "Oh, you don't have enough money to pay me this year? Well, we'll just next year. Hopefully, you can make more money, and therefore pay what you owe me that year and then the year before." So it kind of creates this system where, even though there technically isn't slavery, you have these sharecroppers who are still indebted to these plantation owners, and they can't really get their freedom. So technically, they're not slaves, but because they're now in debt, they're just as controlled as they were under the institution of slavery.